Alright, 6.1, the equation of a line in slope y-intercept form. Now, when we're looking at slope y-intercept form, we're looking at y equals mx plus b. So, the equation of a line can be written in the slope y-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Y and x are your variables. They're almost always found on every line that you have an equation. Now, the pieces that you would have numbers for are m and b. M stands for slope. Another word for slope is rate of change. Another word for rate of change is constant of variation. Now, the slope, rate of change, or constant of variation is the number that gets multiplied by x because that's how much the numbers are changing by this particular number. B represents the y-intercept on the actual line if you were to draw the line on a graph. Now, something to note, that there are two specific types of lines that are unique to the y equals mx plus b line. These are two special types of lines, one being the horizontal line, which has a slope of 0, and the equation of that line is y equals b, the number that it goes through the y-intercept. So note that if it has a slope of 0, we would put 0 times x plus b. 0 times x means that we would simplify that expression to equal y equals b. So if I was to reverse this, I would have to say the following. Reversing it, it is y equals 0x plus b, which would simplify to y equals b. So all equations of a horizontal line will look like, once you've simplified, y equals b. Next, a vertical line is also a special type of line. It runs up and down. If a vertical line runs up and down, there's actually no slope. It means that it's undefined. Not zero slope, but undefined slope, meaning that there's no possible way we can create a slope of a line that is vertical. That is, the equation will end up being x equals a. Basically, the x-intercept that the line goes through will result in the equation. X equals a will always be the equation of a vertical line. Okay, moving on. Let's look at the first example. Example 1. Find the equation of each line, where we have a slope and a y-intercept, a vertical line going through a specific point. Let's look at these particular examples first. All right, folks? Okay, first one. M equals 2/3 and the y-intercept is 0, -5. What are you given here? Well, you're given a slope and a y-intercept. Perfect. That will actually give us the equation. The equation will be y equals 2/3 x, which is our slope times x, mx, plus the y-intercept. Now think about it this way, okay? So I'm just going to note this. It would look like plus -5. And when you have plus -5, you have to put those plus negative together. And what will that become? Well, that would become -5. So that plus negative that we saw earlier became a -5. So our final answer will be y equals 2/3 x minus 5. Let's look at the next question. The next question says, find the equation of a line that is vertical. That is a vertical line that goes through 2, 6. Well, if you were to visualize this on a graph, 2, 6 would be somewhere about here, and it would be a vertical line going up and down. 2, 6. Well, that line going through 2, 6 means that it goes through x at 2. Because it goes through x at 2, we can state the following, that this has the equation, a vertical line that goes through 2, 6 has the equation x equals. What number is it always equal? Well, x always equals 2 in this example. So for part B, the equation, the final equation, is x equals 2. Okay, moving on. A line that passes through 0, -5, and 3, 2 is as follows. All right, so we need the equation of this line. So we have 2 points, 0, -5, and 3, 2. And we need to find the equation of that line. That is, we draw a line through those 2 points, okay? So one more time, let's go over this quickly. You're only given this part of the equation, this part right here. And you're asked to find the line that passes through those points. You can visualize it by drawing it on a graph or sketching it quickly. And what you know about this is that it is 2 points and we have to find the equation of that particular line. Well, how do we find an equation? We need 2 parts. We need a slope and a point. Specifically, the y-intercept would be nice if we have it, and if we don't, we could find the equation. By looking carefully, you can see that with the 2 points you're given, whoop, that's right, folks. Look here, look what you're given. You're given the y-intercept. And if you sketch it on a graph, you would notice, oh yeah, that is the y-intercept. So what you want to do is find the equation of this line. We still need the slope, folks. So how are we going to find the slope? Well, we need to use the formula for slope. We know the y-intercept is -5. That's what we need. And we need the slope. Slope is rise over run. Another way to find slope is delta y over delta x if we had a table. So rise over run if we had an actual graph. Delta y over delta x if we had a table. Or the final one is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And in class we learned about how to plug this in quickly. That is, we take x1, y1, x2, y2, and put in the numbers. So 0, -5, 3, 2, we write those going upwards. Notice the way the points are written sideways. We write them going upwards. Think about rise. And then we're going to run with 3 lines. So it's a neat little trick to remember. One more time, for those of you trying to remember it. Remember that we have 2 sets of coordinates. I just take the first coordinate and I write it upwards. I take the second coordinate and write it upwards. And then what do we do in our final piece? Well, we run with 3 lines. 1, 2, 3. And what happens now is we've created the equation that we need. -5 minus 2 turns out to be -7. 0 minus 3 turns out to be -3. Our slope will turn out to be 7 over 3. Reduced. So with the 2 negatives, it became positive, and 7 over 3, that's about all we can do with that. Okay, so we have our slope and our y-intercept. What will our equation be? Well, that would be y equals 7 over 3x minus 5. Okay, one more time. Y equals 7 over 3. Y equals 7 over 3x minus 5 is our final equation that we're looking for, folks. All right, moving on. Let's find the equation of a line that passes through 10, -27, 5, -18, and 5, -5, 0. Well, in this case, we have 3 sets of coordinates, and it would probably be a good idea to write them out in a table. It's another way that we can find the equation. So write out the points in a table, -5, 0 in order, 5, -18, and 10, -27. Okay, now notice that I put a space between here. Why did I do that? Well, I know that this is going to be a line, But more importantly than that, what I notice is that here, I could list my points in order and determine the missing point. That's right, we can determine the missing point. How would we do that? Well, I know that from -5 to something to 5 to 10, we're going to look for that number that goes here. What number goes right here in this section? Hopefully you noticed, yes, that's right. 0 should go there in order to have a table of values going in order. On that note, that means on the other side, we should also be going in order. What order? Well, from -18 to -27, it went -9. Okay, so our delta x is up 5, so we're good with that. We need to have them the same in order to be able to do delta y. It's like delta x gives us the permission. That's right, it gives us the permission to be able to go to the other side. So we're using the concept of a line and the table of values that the line on delta x and delta y is the same. So delta y, delta y will be -9. That's right, from -18 to -27. It goes down 9. I know that these numbers also have to go down 9 and down 9. So 0 minus 9 will give me, that's right, -9. -9 minus 9 will give me -18. And -18 minus 9 will give us -27. We want those values to be the same. Why? Because it's a line, folks. And the only way it can be a line is if delta x is the same and delta y is the same. So, what two parts do we need? We need the y-intercept, which we have, and we need the slope. Slope, is, in this case, is going to be delta y over delta x, rise over run. Delta y over delta x. What's delta y? -9. What's delta x? +5. So, our equation is going to be y equals -9 over 5 x minus 9. That's right, plus -9, which means it'll be -9 as our final answer. Okay. Is that good, folks? So we'll go through this again if you need to. Let's try another example. Find the line that passes through these points. Okay? And you can try this one. What I suggest you do is actually stop the video now and try and do this question by yourself. Once you've done it, start the video again. Okay. All right. Look, folks, here we go. -8, -12, we will put this into a table. -8, -12, -6, oops, all that. Oh, let's hold on. Okay, we're back. -8, -12, -6, -9, -4, -6. Notice we put in a table. Okay, now I can tell you that it's a line, so we can do our delta x, and we notice that the x's all go in a pattern. Up 2 and up 2, and we don't have to worry about that. Now, we need to be able to get to 0 to determine the y-intercept. So, to get to 0, we need to keep going up 2. Up 2 means that this will be -2. Up 2 again means that this will be 0. Why do we want that 0? Yep, that's right. It's because we're looking for the y-intercept. We're looking for the y-intercept. In order to be a y-intercept, the x value must be 0. All right, going on to the other side, we're looking at y. We need to find delta y. Delta y, -12 to -9 is up 3. -9 to -6 is up 3. -6 up 3 will give us -3. And again, up 3 again, because we need to get to find the y-intercept. So -6 up 3 gives us -3. -3 up 3 gives us 0. So here, in our case this time, our y-intercept is actually at the origin, 0, 0. Now what we need to do is write the equation. What is the equation of this line? Well, that is our y-intercept is 0, and our slope is going to be delta y over delta x. Delta y is 3, and delta x is 2. So our equation is going to be y equals 3 over 2x plus 0. Right? That one more time, plus 0. So do we write anything for plus 0? No, we don't. This particular equation turns out to be our direct variation. So one more time again, you need to note that we need to find the equation. To find the equation, rewrite y equals mx. So there's our m, x plus b. Plus b is 0. Plus 0, we do not write, folks. So if you wrote a plus 0, that's a mathematical communication error. What you want to do is make sure that you write it out as y equals 3 over 2x, and that's all. Okay, next one. You're asked to find the equation of the line from the graph. So, we need to find the equation of this line from this graph. So we have a graph here, as you can see, and we need the y-intercept. So we have a bunch of dots on the graph right there and there, and we can find the y-intercept. Do you see that? Do you see where the y-intercept is? Look at the y-axis and look where the line crosses the y-axis. That will be something important that we need. So our y-intercept is -2. b equals -2. The next piece that we need is the slope. The slope on a graph, we would use rise over run, or we can use the 2 points that we have here. It's up to you how you want to approach this. So let's look at the 2 ways that we could find the slope on the graph. Okay, so first way we can do it, find the slope, by taking the coordinates. What coordinates are we looking at? Well, let's find this coordinate. Or actually, let's use the y-intercept 0, -2. Write that going upwards. And this coordinate, which is -4, +1. Okay, so we write those going upwards, and then we run with 3 lines. 1, 2, 3. So what now? Another way we could have done this, which would have been the exact same result, is the following. Watch and see. We could have drawn from the leftmost point going down. That's right, down. So that's rise -3. And then we would have run across. So we made a right angle triangle. We would have run across how much? 4. That's right. So we could have used slope and said this goes rise -3 and run 4. So our slope would be -3 over 4. That's our rise and run. Or we could have used the coordinates like we did here, and that also would have given us -3 over 4. So either way, whether we do it on the graph or we use the formula, we will get the exact same slope, regardless of which way we choose. Next, we can find the equation. Well, the equation is y equals -3 over 4x minus 2. All right, folks. Well, that's the end of the lesson. Have a numerical day.